We are walking along a portion of the Gettysburg battlefield that is often overlooked, which is weird to say because the town of Gettysburg is right there. And on July 1st of 1863, Oliver Otis Howard would come to this position, realize its importance, and begin fortifying it, making it his headquarters for the 11th Corps. Now this position is East Cemetery Hill, and it turns out that this is one of the most important positions in the Union lines here at the Battle of Gettysburg. We're going to find out if the Confederates can manage to break through this line, and if they do, can they hold this position? So let's orient ourselves before we dive into the clash here at East Cemetery Hill. Here is the town or city or borough, or how about it's the small hamlet of Gettysburg, okay? And through these trees here is the Jenny Wade house. And my, oh my, look at this position, all right? It doesn't look like anything right now, but my goodness, it is easy to see why Oliver Otis Howard was awarded the Medal of Honor for deciding to fortify this position. Now, it doesn't look like much because of the trees and the development to our left, but when we move over this way, you're going to see what a commanding view this position offers. So what you're seeing before us, these are called lunettes, and they're crescent-shaped fortifications, and they can vary in sizes. They can be used for infantry, and as you can see here, they are used for artillery. Now, these are the original lunettes here at Gettysburg. They have obviously received some TLC over the years, but what you're seeing is original. And I promised you a good view and a commanding position. Well, check this out. It's amazing to me that the Confederates managed to breach this area despite the overwhelming view that this position commands. Now on July 2nd of 1863, General Robert E. Lee would order Lieutenant General Richard Ewell to demonstrate against the Union forces in this area. Well, that demonstration would turn into a full attack if an opportunity arose. So starting around 4 p.m., Confederate artillery around Benner's Hill would begin opening up on Union positions here, and in this direction you have Culp's Hill. Well, Benner's Hill was not a very advantageous position for the Confederates. If you recall, we covered Benner's Hill in an earlier video. That link is below in the description. So artillery began opening up here, and shortly after that, the Union guns on these positions here would begin wreaking havoc on the Confederate positions at Benner's Hill. Now, you had Union infantry positioned. There's a stone wall that runs here and along this modern day road. You can't see it, but you can see the tops of the monuments. So all along this road here was Union infantry, and that's where we're headed down. We're going to see where these Union infantry regiments were positioned, and we're going to see where the Confederates managed to break through the line here. So we've moved down the hill a bit. In the beginning of the video, we were up here. So now we're at the base of East Cemetery Hill, and what we're looking at here is the position where the 25th and 75th Ohio regiments would have been positioned. So you can see some flank markers right here. So you would have had the 75th positioned here, and then you can see their flank marker right here. And beside them was the 25th Ohio. Now this area of the line was sparsely defended. So instead of having a full regiment in this general area, you would have had a soldier every couple feet, which didn't bode well for the Union defense here. So starting at 7:30 p.m., Major General Jubal Early ordered 2 of his 3 brigades to attack the Union line. So this portion of the Union line was attacked by Brigadier General Harry Hayes' Louisianans, and they would have been coming through this general direction. And the other brigade attacking this position was Isaac Avery's North Carolinians. Now these are the same troops that attacked the brickyard in an earlier video, and they were fighting Eleventh Corps soldiers on that day as well. But Isaac Avery's men would have been attacking a little farther down. And the Confederate forces here were using the cover of darkness and a lot of the smoke from the black powder in this area as cover. And they got pretty close before the Union defenders here even knew that the Confederates were attacking. So they would smash through this line here, and the Ohio regiment stood no chance, and they'd begin pulling back to another stone wall up on East Cemetery Hill here in this general direction. So we've moved down the Union line a bit, and that's where we just were, talking about Harry Hayes's brigade smashing into the Union line with the handful of Ohio regiments. And in this general area, I believe the 68th New York was manning this area, and this is the location where you would have had Isaac Avery's North Carolinians advancing across. Now they had a bit of a tougher time. Not only is it a farther distance, but there is a Union position right here, an artillery position called Stevens Knoll, and it offers beautiful fields of fire, and those cannon were just ripping the Confederate ranks here to shreds. But they still came on and broke through this position here. Now Avery himself would be killed advancing across this field, and his death was made famous by a letter that he was clutching. And right through here is the summit of East Cemetery Hill. Now notice something, how we're walking along where the Union lines were, and you can't really see the cannon at the top that I showed you in the beginning of the video. So there is, outside of some scattered pockets of Union infantry, we have some pretty good cover here, at least for a bit, while we're advancing up this hill here. Making our way up East Cemetery Hill, and down there is where the 75th and 25th Ohio were positioned. So you would have had Confederate forces moving up this way, and like we just touched on, can't see those cannon yet, but they're right in that general area of the statue of Mr. Howard there. A little closer to the top here, and we're getting pretty close to meeting some Union artillerymen. And you can just imagine hitting this summit here, and you're staring down the barrel of an artillery piece that probably is loaded with canister or some sort of case shot. Now, once the Confederates reached this point, some brutal hand-to-hand fighting broke out against some scattered infantry and the cannoneers manning these batteries here. And you can just imagine these artillerymen were using anything they can get their hands on, whether it's tools to help load the gun here, bayonets, shovels, anything they can find. Rocks. Hand-to-hand combat is something that is just a different type of brutal. Now, there's an account from some of the Union forces here about what happened at one of these guns. A Confederate soldier would come to the muzzle of one of these cannons here on East Cemetery Hill, place his hand on it, and state he claimed this gun in the name of the Confederacy. Well, there was a Union cannoneer on this side of the gun with a lanyard ready to be pulled. And that Union cannoneer, who was German, so he would say this in German, would pull that lanyard and say, "Then you should have it." That lanyard would be pulled, and that Confederate soldier at the end of the muzzle probably didn't exist anymore. So just another snapshot into the savage, chaotic hand-to-hand fighting here at the crest of East Cemetery Hill. Now, despite the initial success of the Confederate attack here, it was short-lived. Like we've been touching on, this hand-to-hand fighting was taking a toll on both sides. And even at one point, a private, Lorenzo Dowler of the 75th Ohio, he found a Confederate major carrying the colors of his Louisiana regiment. And that major was killed by Private Dowler. And numerous members of the 75th Ohio would pounce on that Confederate regimental flag and begin tearing it to shreds, trying to keep it as souvenirs in the midst of this attack that was unfolding just on these fields before us here. Now, that flag wasn't the only thing captured here on East Cemetery Hill. Following the battle in August of 1863, this ground that you see before us was captured forever and became the first land preserved here at Gettysburg. So this is the land that gave birth to the Gettysburg National Military Park. I thought that was pretty cool. And that's probably why you're seeing a lot of these original lunettes, because it was preserved shortly after the battle ended here in Gettysburg.